I wanna talk about this because you and your husband have built a level of success and wealth. Great church, great businesses. But how did you find the strength to continue running and to build a level of success and wealth after all of the rejections you actually talked about inside of this amazing book?
Well, you know what's interesting for me is as I've been unpacking the idea of rejection, I've realized that rejection can show up in a couple of different ways. Those of us that have experienced rejection, some people, what I call implode, which is they end up in addictions, self-harm, all types of things that are kind of harmful to themselves. But then others of us, we explode. When we experience rejection, we explode, but we do it in one of two ways. Either it's we get angry, you know, we're hostile, we kind of have a chip on our shoulder, but then there are others of us who explode into achievement. And so rejection can become a fuel for ambition. Why? Because there's this idea that I need to achieve more to be more because I was rejected. There's like a void of worth and value that I want to fill by the job titles. I want to fill by even the balance sheet. I want to fill by the awards and recognitions. And so for me, I think what I achieved in life, I had to come to terms with the fact that so much of it was because of a primary rejection experience I had with my mother and her telling me that I was not enough, that she didn't want me, that she wished she never had me. And so on the one hand, I think I was fortunate because I did not implode into self-harm and I did not explode into anger, but I did explode into ambition, which was a toxic form of ambition. So that's how I've been able to, I think, accumulate success in the face of rejection. And I can kind of talk about it now that I'm on the other side of the recognition.
You know,
man, listen, I hope you guys caught that. Yeah, I was not too fast. Listen, hey guys, welcome to Little Black Man 91. This is your favorite dating and relationship coach. You know what I'm saying to you. Today we're talking to you guys about rejection and then toxic ambition. Have you got toxic ambition? Have you got ambition that is driven by rejection? I love the word that she used there because I think a lot of us do have that, right? In fact, there's a positive and a negative aspect. The positive aspect is that, for instance, even my job that I do now, the reason why I have such a heart for people to help them is because of the rejection that I faced as a child. And so what she was describing was so powerful because many of us actually are driven by those motivating factors. And the beautiful thing about this is that, you know, that's what the Bible says: seek the kingdom and seek the kingdom first, and all his other riches shall be added onto you, right? And reality, what it's really showing us is that when you chase the worldly things, when you chase the success, the money, the fame, all that kind of stuff, it actually doesn't solve the actual issue. Because a lot of us are so much driven and motivated by the fears and the pains that we actually have that it infuses with our gift. And when we achieve those things, it actually doesn't give us the satisfaction that we need. This is why people who are rich, famous, and have such status commit suicide, because in reality, it doesn't solve the issue, which is a core crux of a wound within our hearts. Now, in part 2 of this video, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to make it more specific to dismissive avoidance and then fearful avoidance. I'll do separate videos. But I think this is really powerful because it really touches on something quite unique here, right? Is your ambition toxic? Are you striving for greatness because you're afraid of being rejected? You're afraid of being turned away. You're afraid that people will say that you're not of value and not of worth, which actually tells us that there is a belief system in your mind. And I like to say belief system, but really and truly what you have faith in, which means confidence and trust in. You have faith in something that says that you're not of worth. Your esteem is, you don't deserve good things and nice things. You don't deserve to win. You don't deserve to be at the top. You're not good. You're not great. You feel like you're a bad person, whatever, etc. Right? There are these negative belief systems or beliefs that we have within a system that we operate in faith with that actually begin to permeate into our actions. And so sometimes even the ambition that we have, which can be a great thing, there can be a fuel of anger and frustration and annoyance that we were rejected as a child specifically. Because as you heard her say, that her mother literally told her that she didn't want her. So that can fuel you to go and push career-wise. But it's still an area of toxicity. And actually, when you get into relationships, you will be exposed. Just like the person who's angry, just like the person who has low self-esteem, and whatever it is, when you get into a relationship with people, you will be exposed. And I love her point about that toxic ambition. Let's listen a bit more.
I don't know if I want to say that.
You should say what you're thinking.
I don't know if I want to say it because, I mean, I think that I've experienced rejection in the past. And the rejection that I've experienced, I would say partially was a direct rejection to me. And it wasn't to me. but it was surrounding me, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Now let's pause it right there, because the reality of the situation is when it comes to rejection and then toxic ambition, the reason why many of us are actually even chasing those dreams is because of the personalization we made of that rejection as an infant or a child or very, very young, right? Let me give an example. Like she said about, for instance, you trying to increase your worth through your material acquisition or your career acquisition or how many friends or family you've got. You try to determine your worth through what you have externally, rather than deriving worth from within, that you as a human life in general have worth. And that usually is a broken link because of what happens as a child, that you've experienced what just Anthony Oneal just said there, rejection. And then the rejection makes you question your worth as a child, because when you look at the caregiver and the parent that you have in your life, they're the ones that are meant to install the confidence, the love, the safety that makes you feel a sense of worth. Now, you guys know I love bringing up this particular chart, right? Here it goes. This chart here, beautiful, right? And one of the things it says here, unique value. Your value, value yourself as a sentient being. Are you able with yourself to say, I have value? And can you say that? But if you're not married, you're not with nobody, you're not got the most bangingest job, you haven't got the most money in the bank, can you say that as an individual, as a human being, that you have value? And the only way to know that is not when you say it, it is through what actions you take. You see, faith without works is dead. When you have faith, works naturally come from it. We are created for good works because we have faith in him. And so when you have faith in that belief system that you have, it should create the works. So if you're telling me you have value, I should see that in your actions. And in a lot of times in relationships, many of us say, I believe I'm lovable. I believe I'm worth something. I believe I deserve the best. I believe this, I believe that. But your actions, who you choose, how you react to situations in relationships tells us that you don't believe that. You don't have faith in that, sorry, not even belief. Belief is to accept something's true. Faith is to say that I have confidence and trust in it. And many of us don't have that. So what Anthony just exposed there is that many of us have been rejected in some shape or form. And then it plays a role in how we see ourselves, which is then we end up projecting how we feel on other people. Let me give you an example. Somebody does something, for instance, well, let's say you're talking to somebody and they ghost you. You might personalize it and say, it's because of me. No, let's not get it twisted. I always believe in compassion and accountability. We must operate in both. Let me be compassionate to myself and say, well, it wasn't my fault. It's on them that they ghosted and they didn't communicate. But the accountability piece will also look at and go, well, if I've been ghosted 3 times, am I picking wrong people here? Am I picking emotionally unavailable people? Am I not taking my time when I start to move these people? Is there something that I'm showing? Yes, we hold a balance, right? But the most important thing also is not to personalize sometimes people's behavior as being as a result of you, their behavior. What you do is what you do. What they do is what they do, right? But it's important not to personalize a lot of people's behaviors. And there is sometimes you need to, but a lot of times don't personalize it. If they end up being angry, don't personalize it, because it might not be you that they're angry at. First and foremost, ask some questions first. But we might personalize it, and then here's what's going to happen. Because I'm afraid of rejection, I'm going to move away before you decide to move away. I'm afraid of you being abandoned. So going back to that toxic ambition, sometimes we throw ourselves into career because it can't reject you. Ooh. Here's what I mean by that, because you can get rejected by a job. You will throw yourself into a career and try to climb the ladders because you understand that the process is simple. Put hard work in, you should get a hard work output. You should get an output that matches the hard work, right? And if I can do that, then my worth will increase as I increase my pay packet. And I know this exactly because I remember when I was, and of course, I think everything has seasons. I was working at McDonald's and I always hated it. I hate telling people I worked at McDonald's. I felt it was embarrassing. In fact, one time I lied to a girl about where I worked, and because I was so embarrassed by it. Because I planted my worth on where I worked rather than who I was and what God has called me to be. If he says that you are wonderfully and beautifully made, if he says you're his masterpiece, if he said that he would die on a cross for you, that means my life is worth another man's life, which is God himself. Are you crazy? I have worth. But that will only show if my faith is in him. Ooh. If I believe that, but I don't have faith in it, you'll see my actions don't actually match what I'm saying. So many of us throw ourselves into work because it doesn't reject us oftentimes. We understand the process. We understand the equation. Work hard, get a new job. Okay, develop relationships. I get more promotions. Do this work in this way. I get this. And it's very much like a slot machine. Do that, and you get this back. But you see, relationships, when we're dealing with them on an emotional plane, don't always work like that, right? That's still the same principle, but it doesn't always work like that. And a lot of times we haven't understood the principle or the equations of a relationship when it comes to personal relationships, friends, family, romantic partners. And it can be very different to being in a workplace. So that's my little breakdown on something. I'm definitely going to do part 2 and 3. Where I'm going to specifically focus on dismissive avoidant and fearful avoidant for you as well. Okay, so much love, much appreciation, and we'll talk a bit more after this. All right, and also let you guys know. Listen, we're still doing a bit of coaching, but we're only doing emergency slots now. So I've only got a few slots left. If you want to jump on that before 2025, use the link down below in the description box. Use a Q jump aspect, please, and you can get your coaching as well before 2025. Appreciate you. Stay locked. So we'll see you again soon.